In this video, I want to talk about how to develop a list or a chart of commonalities, common elements that the photos of the real life superheroes share. So this is in preparation for a writing assignment in which I'll ask you to write a profile essay. Um, and the word profile is a contested word in today's atmosphere. And uh, I'm definitely not talking about anything negative here. What I'm saying here is that this is a valid technique of creating content, of writing an essay, of writing a research paper, and that's to develop a general analysis of something, a type, developing a type, developing an average picture, if you will. So, if you wanted to study let's say the the layout of your average, supermarket. You go in there, you buy groceries. Okay, when you walk through the door, what's to your left? What's to your right? What do they place right in front of you? How do they arrange their aisles? And see, what you would be drawing then is you would be drawing up an idea of what the average, supermarket would look like. And in order to do that, you would have to visit 5, 6, 7, 10 supermarkets, depending how strong you want your picture to be, how strong you want that evidence behind it to be. Now, I know that this assignment is on something else. I'm just using supermarkets as an example of profiling because we could use those experiences of maybe going to 10 supermarkets, right? And different chains, different types, not owned by the same company, and walk in there and you see how they arrange their food, their items, their aisles, the layout of the store, and we could start developing common elements that the majority of the group share. So if we're doing 10, let's say 5 or 6. 6 would be the strict majority, but for our purposes here, I wouldn't mind at all if you at least try to find 5 out of the 10 that share that commonality that you have. For example, maybe the supermarket, the floor to ceiling space is expansive. So maybe you look at the ceiling and you say, out of 8 of the 10 supermarkets, the ceiling is at least, 15 to 20 feet high, or things like that. Okay. Maybe 7 out of the 10 that you visit actually start you off in a bakery section, right? And then right after the bakeries, or maybe it's a liquid section, like here are the soft drinks, the waters, that sort of thing. Then as you pass through that, you realize that there's the bakery is next. And as you pass through that, then you enter the heart of the store where the main ingredients of the meal are situated, like the dairy, the flour, the meat, the vegetables, and what if it were arranged that way for 6 out of the 10 that you visit? You see what I'm saying? Well, what if 8 out of the 10 have checkered floors? Um, red and white tiles or black and white tiles. And so you'd have to keep track of this information, right? Because at the end you would be writing a description of the average supermarket, right? And of course there are going to be exceptions. It's not always 10 out of 10 that always share these commonalities, but you're playing the probabilities, right? You're basically telling your reader, hey, if you go into this supermarket, any supermarket in this area, chances are it's going to have this, it's going to have that, it's going to have some of these characteristics. Okay, so you're just trying to profile, present this thing in profile, if you will, the general shape of it. You see what I'm saying? And so this is sometimes called the profile paper. Sometimes it's called the general analysis paper. Sometimes it's called the typical paper. Now that's kind of falling out of use because of how we use the word typical in our everyday speech, but we're dealing with the type. You see, we're trying to develop a type. That's why it's a typical paper. Now, I want us here to work with a very interesting website called the Real Life Superhero website, gallery, whatever. I'll send you to it with a link that I have posted in our assignment. And this is a very interesting group of people. And they once had a much more developed website, but it was hacked. It was somehow attacked from the outside by maybe one of their arch enemies. But they never have really been able to work together very cohesively as a team in terms of organizing themselves and spending money, for example, to really build a really good website with good security and all that sort of thing. So at this point, they just have sort of a maintenance site. And in fact, you'll see some language on that site that says this is just for archival purposes. No one is really at home anymore, you know, in the building. They're not updating it. They're not. So we'll see how long this lasts. But there are people out there that like to make a costume, put it on, go out into the community, and have fun or do some good out there as in a alter ego way, with their alternate identity, right? And I want us to go ahead and look through the list that's there, and I want you to look at how they present themselves, okay? Their appearance. This is going to be an exercise, an activity, an assignment that focuses on the photos that are at hand, all right? So you're going to get plenty of photos, and I want you to scroll through them, and I want you to try, using the information that is there on the photos, I want you to try to develop a description of the average real-life superhero that's going to be on that site. Okay, so like if one way to kind of remember that that's your goal is if you pretend that you're going to talk to a friend and you're going to say, hey, there's an interesting site out there, go take a look, and you're going to find that the the people that are on there usually do, and you list them. Okay, so let's get started, because I know I call it a list, but because I'm not saying you can't do a list. Certainly you can. It's one of the words I've used to describe this assignment. But one of the challenges here, there are two challenges really, but one of the challenges is how are you going to organize your observations, your insight, because insight will come to you as you scroll and as you look, and you'll get an idea here, an idea there. How are you going to take care of those ideas in the sense of how are you going to write them down? How are you going to remember them? How are you going to arrange them so that you can see the information the way you need to see it, so that you can start finding those commonalities and developing that picture? And I know personally for me, the best way that this would work is for me to start off with a very simple chart that I let grow as my experience on the site continues. For example, I know that they're arranging the superheroes in alphabetical order. So as time goes on, some of these names might flip and whatever. But I know from a recent visit that Amazonia is listed first. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I would start this chart, and I really do think that this is something that you should do as sort of a note-taking strategy as you look through the site. Okay, I don't necessarily need you to turn in the chart, because if you want to turn it into a list, that's fine. But if you actually want to turn in the chart, that's fine. You can work on it in Word or on a computer file and arrange it that way, maybe Excel. Or if your handwriting is neat and you actually want to do it that way, you can just send me a picture of it through the canvas. Figure out how to do that, but I think you can do that. Probably take the picture on your phone, send it to your email, and then from your email put it on your computer, and then just load it up on Canvas. Okay, so I'll even take a picture of your handwritten chart if you want to do it that way. But let's get started, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put a very basic working structure, okay? Here we go, and I'm going to cross this out. I don't need that cell, and I'll just start with one of the names, with one of the real life superheroes. So I'll put Amazonia, okay, and I'll go ahead and just put it out that way. And then, how do I fill this out? Because I'm creating the chart as I go, right, based on my observations. And so as I look at Amazonia, I can see that she has cobbled together a costume. And now, do I want to put this on the chart? Because that's obvious, right? Almost everybody on there has a costume. But um, but the thing is, some costumes are better than others. So if you scroll down, for example, and you look at Citizen Smoke, I mean, I think the main thing to his costume are his sunglasses and the cigarette, right? Because he's got this hat and a shirt. That's not much of a costume. But then if you look at Captain Ozone, or Angle Grinder Man, you're going to see, uh, you know, a pretty nifty looking costume. So are these costumes handmade? Well, they're definitely cobbled together or custom made, right? And some are a little more simple than others. For example, Black Arrow, or is it Red Arrow? You take a look. I think it might be Black Arrow. She just has an arrow, a red arrow on her shirt, so it can't be Black Arrow. But take a look at some of those. Yeah, I'm not trying to remember the name, but take a look at some of the costumes, and sometimes it's simply a shirt with a symbol on it, like a T-shirt that they made at home. So there seems to be a range of costumes, right? From the cobbled together, from the just made it at home, to actually kind of outsourced it, bought the pads, bought the helmet, but still they're unique creations. So, you know, I'll go ahead and put a column here. We'll call it, custom costumes. And I kind of like the idea of the spectrum being like homemade to like very high level, like very sophisticated. So this is just for me, okay? You don't have to do this, but because really I can just put a check mark here, right? But the thing is, I think I'm going to be putting a check mark for all of them because they're all wearing costumes. So I want to kind of differentiate a little bit, and I'd like the idea between the homemade and the professional grade, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to put a little asterisk here, okay, and I'm going to have a little. Maybe I'll put a little box on my chart or something. Maybe down here, okay, because it's your chart. You do what you want, with it. Just make sure that the information is clear and that you can remember it and track it, okay? And I might just put the asterisk here and say costume spectrum, and I'll put homemade to professional grade, okay? And I'll put 1 here to 5. What's all this? This is just a way for me to remember how I'm going to do this, okay? So I think Amazonia's is like definitely a 1, and that's how I'll do it. I'll put a check mark so I know that they have it, because I might run across one, right? Like Citizen Smoke, I don't know what to do with that one. Definitely a 1 or a 0.5 or something. But the idea is, this is just for me to remember what I'm doing when I put numbers in there. You see what I'm saying? And then Amazonia, what do you think her age range is like? We're just looking at Amazonia, right? I think her age range is I think she's in her mid 40s. If you look at some of the pictures there, I think that's a reasonable guess. I don't see anybody on that site, right, that is, to my mind, younger than 25. And of course, this is a guess, right? I mean, you're just eyeballing the thing, right? So we'll have to qualify this when it comes into our paper. We'll have to make sure that our reader knows some of these, metrics, or this data is coming from just looking at the picture and guessing the age. But I don't see anybody over 50. I don't see anybody younger than 20. So maybe I'll just put age, 20 to 50. And definitely Amazonia is getting a check mark there, right? Now, because I'm using Amazonia to help me fill in the columns, she's obviously going to get check marks on all of them, because she's helping me to inform the chart. Now, literally, the word inform means to bring form and structure and data to sort of an empty idea, or a sort of an outline of a thing. And we inform our ideas about something when we get more data and information about it. So I know it's kind of a tricky word, but I'm informing the chart here, see? And I'm doing it by using Amazonia to help me figure out what columns to put on. Now I can start with the next one. another one on there like Angle Grinder Man. Okay, I'll put Angle Grinder Man. Okay, let's do that. And I'll just go in order, and eventually I'm going to find a cluster of 10 that I can use to find the commonalities. And that's not necessarily the I don't necessarily want you to handpick a cluster, but let's just go alphabetically, and then sooner than later, I believe you'll be able to see the commonalities starting to come out. Okay, even though you might have to go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 superheroes to really find a nice grouping of commonalities that you can say happen to at least 10 superheroes on there, right? So Angle Grinder Man, I know that he has a custom costume. Professional grade, I think he's approaching a 5, 4 or a 5. Now, if you look down to the Black Monday Society, you know, I think they're a 5, even though they're ghoulish and they look like demons. But Angle Grinder Man is up there as well. Okay. Now, what about the age? Yeah, from what I can see, I would put a check mark there. Now, notice if you look at Angle Grinder Man and Amazonia, you can see that they both are okay taking pictures during the day. And they're also both okay being photographed with other people, right? So let's go ahead and put that on there. Daytime photos, okay? Photos with other people. I'll put pics with other people. You know, we got both. Okay. Now I want you to check out something with me here. Notice that Amazonia, if you were like her neighbor or something like that, right? And you knew her before. You knew her from work or from church or from the library or from your apartment building or something like that, right? In other words, you know who she is. If you were to run into her when she was sort of on her real life superhero duty, you know, out there with her mask on, you would recognize her, right? You would. The mask is not truly protecting and hiding her identity. You see what I'm saying? It's more of a token mask. Okay, so that's the phrase I'm going to use, token mask, in the sense that yeah, it is a mask, but it's not really hiding anything. You know, check out Angle Grinder Man. Same thing. He's got goggles because he doesn't want the sparks to fly. By the way, you know what Angle Grinder Man does is he goes around where he lives in the city. It's a busy city, and he carries this power tool. You know, and if you are driving around in a city and you have a lot of traffic tickets, or you maybe at one time, well, that's really the reason you have outstanding, you know, business with the the police department or the city's street ordinance department. You know, you're going to get a tire lock on your, you know, you're going to get a tire lock on your tire. You know, it's a brace. It's a metal device that just clamps onto your tire. It's a clamp, but it's pretty big. It's pretty obtrusive, and it sits there clamped on your tire, and the police can actually lock it on. All right, they can just. It's like a C clamp. It folds over, and then there's a way to lock it so that you can't unfold it. And that means that it effectively stops your car, because if you decide to start it up and to drive that car, that clamp is going to roll up into your car's body, into the inside, and it's going to mess up the tie rods. It's going to just do damage to your car. So as soon as you get a tire clamp or a tire lock on your car, you know, you're not going to drive that thing. You're going to have to settle accounts with the city. You know, pay your back tickets. So your old tickets that you've been hiding, you scofflaw. You know, so that's what that is. An Angle Grinder Man, apparently you can either call him or he patrols. Somehow, if you're lucky enough for him to come by, he'll take his tool and he'll grind that thing off your tire, you know, and then you can take off again, you know. So that's what he does. And you can see that daytime photos, his mask really doesn't disguise him. happy to be photographed with other people. He's got a very advanced costume, not much more than Amazonia, but still custom costume. You know, you can't order an angle grinder man costume off eBay like you might a Spider-Man costume. You know, what's something else we can put here? Let's put this here. Let's look down. Okay, let's look down again to let's go to Captain Ozone. Oh, I know what I want to put here. The token mask, right? Token mask. A mask that you wear for fun, and it doesn't really disguise you. People that knew you before will have no problem figuring out who you are, right? But what about Captain Ozone Man? Scroll down and see him. If you didn't, if you knew him before, and you run into him, you wouldn't recognize him because it's all covered up. All right. So I'm not going to put a check mark there for Captain Ozone. Excuse me. I'm going to go custom costume. Sure, I think it's about a 4. I think it looks like thermal underwear or a spandex, white spandex suit. Something you can actually buy at Walmart or something with some overshorts or something. But anyway, I can't see him, right? But you know what? I can tell it from his. I know I can take a look at his body, so I might want to have a column here about body appearance. Is it how tall or short are they? How fit are they? Maybe that could be another column because I can certainly see his body, even though I can't see his age. So I'm gonna have to. I guess I'm gonna have to put that. Although I feel like he'll fit in there. There's no way I can even eyeball his face. So day photos here, sure, absolutely. Pictures with other people, absolutely. Token mask, no. So you see what I'm saying? I have to leave that one blank. And now let's go to another one and another one and just fill it out. Now there might be another one down here, okay? That that because I'm looking carefully at her pictures or whatever, I suddenly realize, whoa, there's something here that is a new column, right? And that way my chart can keep on growing. You see what I'm saying? And but definitely I'll use the first 2 or 3 that are just right there, the first and the top of the list, if you will, to help me figure out what columns to put in the first place as I try to figure out what I'm seeing in the pictures. You see what I'm saying? For example, let's say that I do get down here to the Black Monday Society, and how does this custom costumes? Yes, they look like a 4 or 5. Age 20 to 50, yes. Day photos, no. Well, actually, I can't remember now, but I think that from what I could see, it's pretty much at night or dark or okay. Pictures with other people, no. You're gonna have to take a look, but I don't think I saw them hanging out with other people. Okay. Um, Token masks, no, because they hide the identity, right? But I'm out of space here because of this box. I should have put the box at the bottom here, but I know that there's something here that I can check mark. I'll put it like this. Is they're hanging out as a group, okay? They've got a group going, okay? I cannot put a check mark for Amazonia. I can't put it for Angle Grinder Man or Captain Ozone, but I can put it for them. So I'll put this here. Boom. And but see what I'm illustrating here is that this group, this bunch, helped me figure out a new column because the more you go down and the more columns that the first initial 5 or 6 help you build, the harder it is to get a new column, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. It's just there's only so many things that you can pull from the pictures. You see what I'm saying? Now once you have this going, you basically your next step is going to be to write this up, and I'll have another video explaining how to write this up. But this is how you would go about trying to make your visit to the site profitable, right? Because you're going to recognize things, you're going to notice things. Be sure that you have a way that allows you to remember, your observations, the next day or 2 days from now, or when you actually come to submit your work to me. So come up with some sort of chart, if you will. I know this type of chart really helps me. I know other students have other ways to do it. I've seen other versions of things in the past, but definitely trying to keep note of the commonalities, like in a paragraph, or just jotting down bullet notes, or not somehow arranging them so that they start cross-referencing each other. Maybe just putting a name and a bunch of bullet notes under the name, and then another name and a bunch of bullet notes. That doesn't let you see how that characteristic is being shared, right? It doesn't let you see it in an easy way, which is going to make this assignment harder for you to do. Now, the profile technique is a very profitable approach to writing short nonfiction pieces. In other words, essays, like we're doing. And the, this is really pre-writing, right? This is really preparation for writing. And in this case, your method, right? Your method is going to determine your product. What method do you have to help you arrange your thoughts so that you can see what you need to see to make that eventual write-up, better, right? So sometimes a visual representation helps you in a written assignment, for sure. Now, I also want to finish this video just by suggesting to you the richness of this topic, all right? So at this time in the semester, you might, sometimes I have in my classes a research paper, many times I do, and if you're looking at this video because this is an assignment in one of those classes, maybe it's different, but many of my students are going to be in that situation, you're working with a topic right now, right? And about this point in the semester, students start realizing their topic is, there's not much you can do with it, right? And there's an art to picking the right topic, the fertile topic, the topic that is multi-angled, multi-layered, that will give you many angles of approach and many paths to follow to produce something unique and rich and complicated. So think about this. For example, you realize that all of a sudden I have something here that seems like a separate group emerging, right? I think I could write a paper talking about the 2 types of real-life superheroes. But I think I can introduce the paper, or maybe end it, by talking about why anybody would want to do this in the first place. What is going on here? If I were to do more work on this, now I'm not asking you to do this for the assignment, but if you were, for example, I'm just saying, if you were to run with this as your research paper, right? Those pictures aren't giving you a lot of information. They're not giving you in-depth information about the people. So at that point, my job would be, how do I research this more so I can find out more about, say, Angle Grinder Man? And I challenge you to do this. Just take Angle Grinder Man, real life superhero, put it up in Google, hit go, and you'll find articles on this guy. And if you do that with others, you'll find articles on them, and you can read about them. Sometimes you get their own words, and you start learning things. For example, there might be another commonality here. Once you start learning about the people themselves, that shows you that many, many, many of these real-life superheroes actually had a moment where they were the victim of some sort of crime. Usually it's not a major crime, but it was a mugging, it was something, right? And they realized, I have to do my part. I cannot depend on society to just take care of these issues. I have to be involved. 1, because I might actually be effective, or 2, it's just for my own sake. I need to feel like I'm trying to do something here to help right some wrongs, or to just make my life purposeful, right? So sometimes their activities is a response to a crime or an action against them that they felt was unjust, and they want to make sure that others are protected. Sometimes they simply want to have meaning in their life. Maybe they're stuck in a job or that is not meaningful to them, or they just they feel at a loss morally. They felt that way until they got involved with this, and now they seem to be happier and more at peace with themselves in terms of how they're dealing with injustice. And maybe they learned how to think about it a certain way, because sometimes you're like, well, there's so much injustice in the world. What does it matter, right? And maybe they learned how to not think that way because it was hurting them. It was making them depressed or whatever. And maybe they just said, you know, if I just help one person today, some way, I'm going to feel better as a person, right? Whether it's dumb or not, I'm going to feel better. And I'm going to have some fun. And so maybe, now how would you find out about that? You'd have to research their names, you know, type them in, see what you can find. There's actually a book out there on one of them called The Amazing Adventures of Phoenix Jones by John, Jon, Ronson, Ronson. I recommend that to you if you're interested in taking this up as a research idea. Because again, if you're one of those students whose research paper is about ready to die, you can write this one, right? I'll help you write it. Just contact me. Write this one on a deeper level. There are other angles we can take. And I'll write this and I'll take it as your research paper. For example, why would anybody wear a token mask? Why would you wear a mask if it doesn't really hide your identity? Okay, so now you're using the argumentative technique of explanation, right? And you got to think about that. Maybe we have to research what people have said about the totem, or what they have said as philosophical musings concerning the structure of the mask, right? And isn't a pseudonym, you know, an author's fake name or a pen name, a type of mask, right? Isn't Mardi Gras or Carnival or a masquerade party definitely using masks? But what does it mean to engage in mask activities, in a mask-like behavior, right? And all of a sudden your paper has more depth, right? And we can use this, right, for a larger assignment. Now, again, I'm going to come back and just say that's not what I'm asking you to do right now. Right now, I'm just asking you to find some, to learn how to do a profile technique paper, a general analysis paper, um, using just the photos, and just your job is just to describe what the average real life superhero on this site is going to look like. That's all you have to do, okay? Um, and that's the data you're collecting right now. I spent the last maybe 7 minutes just talking about the richness of this topic that could really lend itself to longer and more substantial, more layered pieces of writing than just the description of the average superhero. That would be included in the larger work, but that's what a good topic will do for you. A good topic will never die on you. Okay, it will always find some way to spring to life again from a new angle or a new approach. All right. So I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I want you to please watch the next one in which I describe how to actually write the paper once you get, you know, your commonalities listed out.